Spider-Man 2099 cannot gain buffs. Whenever he would gain a buff, he instead pauses his personal debuffs for 5 seconds. While dodging backwards, Spider-Man 2099 is not struck by attacks. Dodging an attack this way triggers his debuff pausing ability. Gains 75% damage resistance if the opponent is under the effect of True Strike or if the hit deals true damage. All light and medium attacks have a 25% chance to inflict Rupture, dealing physical damage over 10 seconds. There is a 100% chance to inflict Rupture on a block if the opponent is suffering from a Wither debuff. Rupture has a max of 20 stacks. An opponent takes a burst of physical damage for each Rupture on them if they reach 0 power, or when they gain a bar of power. Ruptures are consumed after this effect takes place. Heavy attacks inflict an exhaustion debuff, decreasing critical damage rating for 15 seconds. This has a max of 5 stacks. More importantly, these exhaustion debuffs do decrease the potency of power gain effects by 15%. When attacked, there is a 100% chance to gain an indefinite resistance up passive, increasing physical resistance and energy resistance. Interrupting Spider-Man 2099 while he is charging a heavy attack removes all resistance up stacks. If at least 20 stacks were removed in this way, he inflicts a Wither debuff, reducing ability power rate by 150% for 20 seconds. When Spider-Man 2099 pauses his personal debuffs, he consumes 5 stacks of resistance up and increases the pause duration by 5 seconds. This effect has a 10-second cooldown. Resistance up has a max of 100 stacks. The last 3 hits of Special Attack 1 have a 100% chance to inflict a physical vulnerability debuff, decreasing physical resistance for 15 seconds. This has a max of 15 stacks. On activation, gain 15 stacks of resistance up passive, increasing physical resistance and energy resistance. On activation of Special Attack 2, inflict the opponent with a Wither debuff, reducing ability power rate by 150% for 15 seconds. This has a max of 5 stacks. Each hit deals a burst of physical damage per unique debuff on the opponent. On activation of Special Attack 3, inflict a stun debuff for 4 seconds. As well, you will inflict a slow debuff for 25 seconds, reducing unstoppable and evadability accuracy by 100%. This slow debuff counts as 4 unique debuffs. With an awakened Spider-Man 2099, Ruptures have an 80% chance to not be consumed when a burst of physical damage triggers. As well, there is a plus 25% combat power rate while the opponent is affected by a Wither debuff. So there are really 2 different ways to play Spider-Man 2099. One is to go for maximum damage potential, and the other, which you'll see in the background gameplay here, is for power control. The best thing about Spider-Man 2099 and power control is that anyone who has a passive power gain ability, he has a great ability to control this with his heavy attacks, which apply an exhaustion debuff to the opponent, slowing down that power gain. As well, once he hits his special 2, or if he has 20 resistance up stacks removed while charging a heavy attack, he will lay down a Wither debuff. And in this case, you can see once he did, the power gain ability of Hyperion is actually going backwards, so he does not have the ability to lay down power gain. Now, the great thing about this is, as long as you are good at dexing, which as you can see I'm not, he will apply this debuff indefinitely. As long as you can keep on dexing and applying pauses to your debuffs, you can completely obliterate the ability for an opponent to gain power. In order to make him effective at power control, Spider-Man 2099 does not need to be awakened. However, if you are trying to go for maximum damage potential, it is critical that Spider-Man 2099 be awakened and at the highest possible SIG level. This is because once you inflict a Wither debuff, you are going to gain 25% increase to combat power rate. This is important because it's going to help you to get to your other specials quicker so that you can again lay down more debuffs. As well, the really important thing here is that whenever you apply ruptures to the opponent, the awakened ability gives you an 80% chance that when they detonate, they will reapply themselves. You'll see that ruptures do not last very long in the gameplay here because Spider-Man 2099 is not awakened. But again, if these can continuously reapply themselves, you can build them higher and higher to where you can get up to the maximum number of ruptures on an opponent at one time, causing a higher amount of damage whenever they actually inflict their physical damage. Getting the most out of Spider-Man 2099 and his max damage is rather difficult in my opinion. You really have to pay attention to all the debuffs that you have on your opponent. Make sure you have as many unique debuffs as possible, while also making sure that you are pausing them so they do not drop off, and getting to your specials in a timely manner in order to make sure that you can hit that damage before these unique debuffs drop off. So the best rotation that I've found for applying all the debuffs and getting maximum damage is, again, hit with your basic attacks. This is going to apply your rupture debuffs. And hit with your heavy attacks. This is going to apply your exhaustion debuffs. This will give you 2 of your unique debuffs. Then you have to work on dexing in order to pause these debuffs. You will then use your special 1 to apply your physical vulnerability debuffs. Then you will hit your special 2. Now, this will apply your wither debuff. Now, while this will do some damage based on your unique debuffs, the big thing here is that it's going to increase your combat power rate. So this will allow you to get to your special 3 faster. So then you will go to your special 3 and apply your slow debuff, which counts as 4 unique debuffs. Then you will round back around to your special 2. This will give you your maximum amount of damage you can deal to the opponent once you fire the special 2 at this moment. Remember that in order to get this maximum damage, you have to keep on dexing and pausing those debuffs. That is critical in order to maintain those debuffs. So like I said, his gameplay can be a little hectic and a little stressful because you have to make sure you are pausing those debuffs so they do not drop off. One final note on maximum damage: if you did not want to go through the lengthy rotation of going through his special 1, 2, 3, then back to a 2, you could also simply use several special 1s in a row in order to apply more and more physical vulnerability debuffs. Then what you can do is hit your special 2, and as you will deal multiple bursts of physical damage, this will allow you to increase the amount of damage dealt simply with those physical vulnerability debuffs. But as I said, guys, the best way to get the most out of Spider-Man 2099 with his damage is to absolutely have him awakened and at a high signature level. If he is not, you will really just want to stay in matches where you're using him for power control.